So I always say I've lived 1,000 lives or 10 lives or whatever, just a bunch of lives. And I think it's kind of crazy. Like right now, I'm sitting in a yacht. This is awesome. Total Miami vibes. I'm here with a friend's birthday. He was kind enough to invite me and some of my family. And it's great. But when people think about Miami, people think about something like this. And yes, this happens every now and then in Miami. If you're lucky, you get to go on a boat. Some people are more lucky than others. They get to go on a boat all the time. This time, it was a friend of mine that had his birthday, and I am ecstatic to be here. It's weird because life is so odd. Like yesterday, I was laid off along with the whole team in the studio where I was working in the TV channel, and we were just laid off. Like they just told us, they're like, okay, Monday's your last day and you gotta go on your own. And that's okay, you know. It's the first time I worked in corporate environment, even though it was TV and I was still doing a production and I was doing technical direction and sound and stuff like that. But you know, things just happen like that. So that's why it's important to kind of enjoy every minute that you have. And right now I got lucky because the very next day I got invited to something that is beautiful. But even at the beginning of this morning, I was trying to be like, oh man, I don't know if I can enjoy this. I was a little bit down because half of me is happy, half of me is kind of like, oh, okay, what am I gonna do now? So that was me about a month ago, right after I had got laid off. Yes, it's been a month because it's been a crazy month. And if you hear any clicking or anything in the background, it's because my wife is playing League of Legends. So I'm here, still in this apartment for the time being. But this time I'm starting to be surrounded by boxes because I'm moving back to Miami Beach. And really, I'll explain to you why that is. Yeah, talk about chaos piling up on top of chaos, right? So I'm still 42. My DNA basically has decided that I'm supposed to look 28, I guess, or 30 or something. Although these eye bags are looking pretty 42 to me. I don't know, man. It's been a crazy time. And yeah, life's still throwing all these curveballs at me. Moving obviously being one of the latest ones. And the yacht was cool. It was like a little fun right after this like weird news. But now I'm back into grinding and just kind of going for it, going full on onto some new projects or projects that I was starting to develop, but I'm going into it now full force. Okay, so I hope you saw the last two episodes, the one about beating perfectionism. You know, I'm all about trying to kick perfectionism to the curb. Well, it's not that easy, apparently. A month and a half later. Yeah, it definitely does kick my ass every now and then, or most of the time. As you can see, I'm trying, I guess, one messy upload at a time, which I think is, an ongoing theme in this YouTube channel for now, and it might be for a long time or not. We'll see how it develops. Also, celebrating small wins was the second episode, and I think it's very important, and I tried to kind of stay on that celebrating small wins during this time that was a little turbulent. As I was about to go back to my apartment to come here to record my third episode is when they are like, oh yeah, we have this meeting, right, that I told you at the beginning of the episode, and boom, we all got the axe and we're laid off, and it was just like, wow. So let's unpack this mess together. I am jobless, moving, I am somehow still grinning, and let me tell you where I'm at. Since I arrived to the United States, I lived in Miami Beach, along with my father, who lived nearby, my brother, who lived with me for a long time as well, and I was used to living on the beach. But because I got this job that was on a studio right over there near here, in Coral Gables, I moved here because I didn't want to have to ride 45 minutes or longer every day back and forth, and then rush hour and all of that. So then I decided to move here close to my job, literally like 10-minute walk. I think it's 8 blocks away or something. But now that I don't have that, all the rest of my work is still with my father and in Miami Beach in general. And it's a nice place to live at as well, even though this was fun too, totally different, but fun. So then that's why Vanessa and I are moving back to Miami Beach. Again, actually North Bay Village, which is a little island right off of Miami Beach. And that's going to be fun. Not the packing, of course, and all of that. That's going to be a nightmare. But I've moved so many times in my life, I don't care. I used to always rent furnished, but now I rent with nothing because this apartment was empty. And so I got all of my own stuff, and I have all my things now that I have to move. So that will be fun. So like always, I'm going to try to sort all of this stuff with you and unpack these bags, if you will, metaphorically, but also really unpack a lot of stuff that I'm going to have to pack first out of here with you guys. And it's going to be fun and interesting because I'm having a lot of different things that I'm hitting, like roadblocks right now, but also realizations and things that I'm working through. And it's a very interesting and important time, I think, in my life. And I hope that whatever I do also resonates with you and can help you. In general, I guess it's a little hard to share the not so successful or like great parts of your life or something, you know, like I struggle with that too, because you always want to project an image of success or things going good, or the opposite, you know, like I'm always a victim or like something bad is happening to me, and you're always showing one of those too. But kind of trying to be real in what's happening is harder. So I'm going to try to be as truthful as possible with everything that I'm saying and how I'm portraying things. But still, you know, it's just hard to generally be so accurate in one of these things. And also, as you're working it out in your head and in your life, sometimes you don't have that hindsight, you know, like even though right now, for example, it's been a month since the layoff, so it's a little bit, I got a little bit more distance and stuff like that. But in general, you're still working through it, right? So this sounds weird. Anyway, now let me tell you a little bit about, like, for example, my film life, which was something interesting too, that how it all happened. And for years, I worked in film along with my family. I got them all into filmmaking, and then we started working really hard in getting all kinds of productions together and having a lot of equipment. And little by little, we built up until we made, in like, I don't know, 10, 12 years of work or more, or we made a big production company, and we created a very, very nice movie that's called Engaño a Primera Vista, or Deceit at First Sight, that my dad wrote along with my brother and myself based on an idea that he had. And then my brother and I directed it. My father was the producer, and my brother and I were also the stars of that film. And that film became the most watched film in the history of Bolivia, which is insane, which was awesome. And I think it had to do so much with hard work. And I used to always think that hard work was 100% of what success was. But now I realize that hard work does have to come with a little bit of luck. How much? We'll talk about it in an episode for sure. How much I think is luck and how much I think is hard work in order to achieve success. These are all just theories, but I think it's interesting to talk about that. But we became super famous over there, and it was awesome. And a lot of people that are watching the YouTube show right now are probably people that know that movie. And that gave us the opportunity to get a talent visa and come as artists to the United States, which was something that we wanted to do, but it came about a little bit earlier than we thought it would. And we came to the United States, and it was awesome because there's a lot of things that are great about this country. But one of the things that happened to us was, or to me, it was like over there I was somebody, I already had contacts, I knew people knew me, and I had success, if you will, up to a certain extent. And here I was nobody again. I had all the experience, all of those things, and they say, you know, like, you're supposed to be able to redo everything that you did before. If you, like, let's say you become poor again after being a millionaire, you should be able to rebuild everything. It is true to a certain extent, but it isn't as easy. And then we got hit with COVID, so that was kind of going back to zero again, and that took a hard hit on me, like gave me a lot of burnout in general. But that gave us a lot of time to be able to do certain nice projects that I'll talk to you about later. But that was an interesting time, the whole COVID and transitioning from Bolivia to the United States. That was all really intense, but I worked too much for many years, and that's why I had been carrying a burnout. And that's what also kept me a little bit from pursuing the whole filmmaking every day, all day, even though I've been working in filmmaking all these years. But also the stress factor of making movies and all of that kept me back from doing that. And I guess the latest in all of that development is not working for the company that I was working for anymore. But again, that wasn't just me, it was the whole team. They decided to just go in a different direction and do more freelancing. So that doesn't take away from the fact that one day you do have a job and the next you don't, or, you know, like, you don't have that paycheck, which was so crazy. Receiving a paycheck every 2 weeks is unbelievably crazy. I mean, from me, coming from a totally freelance like lifestyle, it was crazy. So I'm kind of happy to be back out in the market of opportunities and freelancing and kind of being your own boss. I really love that. That's a really nice opportunity. No sulking here, just keep on vibing. So what am I doing right now? I am having a huge comeback with my painting. I had already started doing that because my wife pulled me back. I had started as a young kid in high school. I started painting and doing drawings and then learning how to paint portraits, and I got into all of that and was always like the artistic kid in school. Not autistic, artistic, although no, I wasn't autistic. Yeah, we didn't really know much about all of that stuff, right? Back then, like in the 90s, like autism. Yeah, like we had heard about it, but it wasn't as prevalent. All of these things, like everything that has to do with mental health and like different people with different disabilities or with different capacities or whatever. That was like very, very, very not talked about much in the 90s. Anyway, I was doodling portraits. I was getting really good, really young. And I did portraits for different people. I did some for my family. But then I kind of just forgot it for 20 years almost, like did something every now and then, a little something, but nothing much, nothing professionally, until my wife kind of started getting me back into it because she was painting. She's a visual artist. And she just started painting, and I wanted to paint as well. And I got some paints out, and I started getting back into it, and like on and off a little bit at the beginning about last year, and now I'm full on. And I wanted to kind of towards the end of this year transition into that full time, but that's been sped up, and now I'm gonna do that full time. I've been doing it this last month, obviously trying to also look for new apartments and all of that took some time, but I've been doing that. And I'm selling paintings for a lot more than I had sold them before. And it's interesting. It's a whole different market. And I'm also learning how to do more abstract things. And we'll talk about that in an episode. We'll talk about everything in different episodes. I keep on promising. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many things to talk about in general. But anyway, painting, drawing, it's just so much fun. Sometimes it's a little daunting. But in general, it's a great thing. And I am enjoying it a lot and using it to be the next tool of something that artistic that I want to do that I really enjoy doing. I enjoy it as much as filmmaking in the beginning, how I used to really enjoy filmmaking. And my obsession with AI. I am obsessed with AI. I love it. I work a lot with it in my everyday life, in productivity, even to help me figure out artistic things. It's great. So yeah, I was into AI since 2015. And back then I was like the only like nerdy kid being like, hey guys, AI, have you heard about AI? It's going to be unbelievable and this and that. And people are like, yeah, yeah, of course. You look like a deranged person, like talking about all these things that are going to happen. And then finally they did happen. Most of them are starting to happen. And now it's in everybody's radar. And it's unbelievable to have followed all of that journey and to be able to enjoy some of the amazing things that AI is being able to do for so many different fields. Looking forward to a lot of the health and wellness and all of the things that it's going to be able to do for humanity, if it doesn't wipe us out. And so I got my geek mode on for that. In general, I love AI, and I think there's so many uses for it. I want to make a lot of episodes based just around that and to talk about that. So maybe write some of your comments, your pros and cons about AI, and we can discuss a lot of that eventually. And finally, one other thing that I want to talk about is mental health. I mentioned it a little bit before, but I've been through burnout, through depression, through anxiety, still struggle with it, still take medicine for depression, but I've come out on the other end victorious, and I think I'm still battling it out, but really having good outcomes and good things come out of it, and have learned so much. I've crashed hard. I've aimed high, like want to get Oscars and make millions of dollars and this and do that, and I've crashed hard with reality. But I think through burnout, through depression, and through all these kinds of things, I've learned so many things through all of these different situations that I've lived and through all of these different difficulties. And if I can help anybody with just a little tidbits of actionable things that have helped me, then great, because then I save you headaches, I save you sadness, I save you all these difficulties that you might face, and you're not alone. Whatever you're going through, a lot of people have gone through it, and some have not been able to cope with it because they didn't have the tools, and some other people have the tools or have had the advice or the help that they needed. And I wish that for you, that you are able to get all the help that you need, and that I may be able to be of as much help as possible, and that if not, at least it'll spark some ideas in your head so that you can go look on the internet, you can use AI, you can do all kinds of things to help you in your mental health journey. So let's talk. Let's see where this leads. I'm definitely not perfect, have made so many mistakes, but that's what makes me better, because I've made so many mistakes. I can now teach a lot of things, so I welcome you to my chaos, if you will, like this craziness that is my life, where we might talk about art, tech, my flops, all kinds of things, family, midlife crisis, moving, all kinds of things. And I'm not a guru, but I've done a lot of stuff. I've screwed up a lot more than a lot of people, and if that can help people, so be it. So write in the comments or whatever, what's your myths? Do you want painting hacks? What AI is bringing to the table or not? And maybe some unpacking tips. Subscribe if you like this content, and next time maybe it'll be from my half unpacked apartment, or maybe from this one when it's all empty. We'll see. Hopefully I'll do one of these a week, but no promises. No promises. Take care.
Please be recording.